Hi, how's everybody doing? Now, today is so exciting. It is actually on the taping of this Christmas Eve, 23. And if you've been with me for a minute, then you know that it has been a really long, hard road remodeling this boat and getting it ready to cruise. And so today, well, our Christmas present is our very first trip. And so we are on the slow migration south, heading to the Florida Keys. And today was our first cruise. This is our first anchorage, and it is absolutely beautiful. We're in Swansboro, North Carolina. But before we left, Billy was at Rusty Ron's in Morehead City. And if you need any kind of unusual, hard to find, unique parts, any kind of thing that you might need for a boat, Rusty Ron pretty much has it, don't you think, honey?
Yep, he does.
So not only does he have parts for boat, but Ron, he grows vegetables, and he gifted us with bok choy, cabbage, and collard greens, which of course the collard greens are just in the nick of time for our our New Year's Day. So Ron over at Rusty Ron, thank you for the bok choy. We can't wait to eat it, and we're very excited to have it. And if you're in Morehead City and you need something for your boat, stop by and see Ron at Rusty Ron and his beautiful wife as well. Now, there's a lot of things to do with bok choy. I think for the most part it gets used a lot in stir fries. And also if you have the baby bok choy, it gets braised a lot. And on our cruise down, I just thought about what I have on the boat, and I thought about making a soup, a nice hearty soup. And we can have a pot of soup in the fridge, and as we're cruising during the day, it's really easy to heat up and eat some soup. So soup it is. So we're doing bok choy, butternut squash, chicken, and we're doing a very Asian version of soup, obviously, because this bok choy is Chinese. Now, bok choy was transplanted like in the 14th century to Korea, where it became like the main thing in kimchi. And if you've ever had kimchi, it's really delicious, and they love their kimchi. And it didn't make it to Southeast Asia until about the 16th century, and then in the 19th century, from Chinese immigrants, it made its way to North America, and super healthy and good for you. So let me get stuff prepared here, and then we're going to get on with our bok choy soup. It's going to be delicious, so don't go anywhere. So the first thing you want to do is just get your broth going so that can sit and simmer and just get really happy while we roast the butternut squash. So I'm just going to do a drop of sesame oil and then a swirl of avocado oil. Now I did 4 green onions, and I separated them from the whites, and the greens tops we're going to use as a garnish for the soup. So in there's our green onions, and I also did 3 chicken thighs, and I chopped those up. The skin I did discard, but the bones we want to keep because this is going to make beautiful flavor, and we'll pull those out in a little bit. And to that, I am going to add a teaspoon of roasted red chili paste. And I'm going to maybe cook this for 2 minutes, just let those green onions soften up. So next we're going to add garlic, and I have 4 whole cloves of garlic there. And just give that just a little minute there. We just want to let that garlic bloom, but we do not want to burn it, and it burns fast. And then I'm going to add a can of coconut milk. And because I'm making this soup up as we go, I'm going to start with 4 cups of chicken stock, and then we may add more, but for now we're going to start with 4 cups. And I'm just going to keep an eye on that and just let that simmer till. So next we want to roast our butternut squash and our chicken. Now this is a fairly small butternut squash. I weighed it. It weighs 4 pounds. And I'm going to peel this and chop it up. I always kind of cut mine in half before I peel it, and I also like a serrated knife for this. I just think it makes it easier to handle when it's cut in half. I'm going to peel this. We're going to cut this into chunks. I've got my oven on 400 degrees, and we're going to make a lovely little seasoning glaze to roast them in. So let me get these chopped up. So butternut squash all diced up, and I went for a fairly small dice just so it roasts quicker. And then we're going to make our glaze for that. I'm going to do about 1/4 of a cup pure maple syrup, and then I'm going to do tamari, but you could do your soy sauce or your amino acids, and I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons. Tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, teaspoon of our roasted red chili paste, and then I want a little bit of hot sauce. So you could do your red rooster, but this is just hot sauce that I make, so I'm just going to add a little of that in there. And then I don't know if you made Chinese five spice when we made Chinese five spice, but if not, you're going to want some Chinese five spice. I'll put a link to that recipe for you. A teaspoon of our Chinese five spice, about 1/2 teaspoon of our avocado oil, about 3/4 of this I'm going to put over my butternut squash here. I saved some for the chicken. We're going to toss that, and let's give that a nice big pinch of kosher salt onto our parchment paper, and I'm going to save a portion down here, and here is my 3 chicken thighs that I've chopped up, and then we're going to toss these with the rest of that marinade we made. Pinch of salt. Now I am going to separate this on a separate piece of parchment paper, and only because my chicken might be done before my squash, so I want to have the ability to pull it off. So we're going to scoot everything out here and get your squash as nice and flat as you can get it. 400 degrees, and we're going to check in 30 minutes. So next we want to talk about our bok choy. I washed this twice, and it can really hold on to dirt. So I just have a clean dish towel here, and I'm just going to wipe it if I see any dirt and make sure it's clean. And then we're going to separate the white part from the green part. And you don't have to be fancy about it. This is going to cook longer than this. So that's why we want to do this. But 1 cup of bok choy has 630 milligrams of potassium and like 44 milligrams of vitamin C. And it's really these things like these vitamin C's that make it a great antioxidant. They think that bok choy can help prevent like colon cancer and bladder cancer. And they also think that when you eat these beautiful leafy greens like this, that it can help you from getting dementia as well. So we have quite a lot of bok choy. Now this was 2 heads, if you will, of bok choy. So it's a lot of bok choy because this is our bok choy soup. So we want a lot of bok choy in it. Now, we're going to put these in our soup at 2 separate times, which is why we are separating them. Now, for your greens, you can really kind of cut them how you want and cut them into the pieces you want. But I like to roll them and then kind of cut them in a big chiffonade, which is like these nice big ribbons. But then I like to take that ribbon and just cut it down like that, because when I'm eating soup, I want soup that can go into my mouth without having to cut it, obviously. So I'm going to cut my greens. You can also, you don't have to cut them. You can just tear them. So in Chinese, bok choy is considered good luck and good fortune. So I think that's a perfect thing for us to have on our first voyage tonight, is something that represents good luck and good fortune. We will absolutely take it. And then again, for the white parts, we want to cut that into bite-sized pieces as well so that it's easier to eat. So I'm going to just cut it down the middle and then just give it a nice little dice. So it's a nice bite-sized piece. Just like that. So let me get this cut and just keep an eye on your soup base that's just sitting over there getting happy. And while I'm chopping, I just put those together because I was talking to you and not paying attention. I'll pick them out. I am going to chop up these greens because these tops of the green onions we're going to garnish our soup with. Well, I guess I was right and I was wrong. The butternut squash didn't finish with the chicken. So I did pull the chicken and I've given the butternut squash another 10 minutes. I'm going to pull these chicken bones out of the oven, and our butternut squash is soft. And I'm going to scoop about half of it in here. And then I'm going to take my trusty immersion blender and just give this a really good blending. Okay, now that's nice and pureed. I'm going to take the white parts of our bok choy, and in we go. And I want that to cook for at least 10 minutes before we put the greens in. And then I can go ahead and just dump all of this. How hot is it? Not too hot. Because I want all of that beautiful marinade to go in there as well. And then our chicken, I think I'm going to give that a bit of a chop up. And now that it's cool enough to touch, make it much easier to eat. And it also kind of stretches it and makes it go further. And now I want to do the zest and juice of a lime. I think that's really going to brighten this up. That's really good. I'm going to start with kosher salt because kosher salt will bring out all of the flavors of everything. And that's just going to enhance all of those flavors in there. And then I might do a little more of the tamari. It needs a little heat. So I'm going to go with the red rooster. Give that probably a good tablespoon. And I did add one more cup of water while I was off camera because I could just tell it was going to need it. And maybe a teaspoon of our tamari. Oh, there, that's better. Catches you just a hit in the back. Very good. Anything else? I don't think so. I'm going to taste the bok choy, see if it's getting soft. But it's perfect. You don't want it mushy, you still want a bit of a crunch, so it's perfect. So we're going to add the greens. And these greens are going to cook down. And they're going to cook down really pretty quick. There's stir in there. So just look at that beautiful soup we made. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you so much for these beautiful bok choy, the cabbage, and the collard greens. Look at that. Billy and I are so excited to have this as our first dinner on our first night out on our way to Florida. Thank you so very much. And I know it's going to be after Christmas when I show this, but I hope everybody had a really nice Christmas. And I'm going to see you really soon. Until next time, safe cruising. So good.